second, just getting a look. So, what, a minute 30 in. Cool. Let's go on with this. So it's not the cleanest scene, but it's something to play about with. Alright, if anyone's watching this as like a pre-recorded thing after the fact, chances are it's better as like a background visual. I probably won't be talking that much. It's my first stream, so not the most confident I've ever been. But we'll see how it goes. So let's create. Perfect. scene scale isn't exactly ideal for this guy. But let's see what we can do. Don't have much control. So when you don't have much control over your guides, like you're seeing here, I can't really do much. There can be quite a few reasons for this, but generally, if you don't have enough like kind of sections, you want to go into rebuild just here. I like to start with a number around 8. It tends to work pretty well for me, and that lets you get the curve that you generally want. I like to spend quite a while getting my first curve right. It has been about 3 months since I last did a groom, so it's quite weird getting back into grooming. Where's my hello. That's weird. Apparently I can't use my weapon. So I think that'll do. Something like this feels about right in terms of length. So just gonna copy him. I have no idea actually how to tell if anyone's viewing the stream. If anyone is, just drop a little message. There's about an 8-second delay as well. Let's just paste the guide. That'll work. For now, what I'm going to do is, because this haircut's mostly symmetrical, just going to groom one side of it, and then I won't be able to mirror the guides just because the UV tools weren't wanting to work. So I'll just convert these back to nerve scopes. And once you got them as nerve scopes, you can just duplicate them, invert the scale as a group, and you'll have the guides mirrored once you convert it back. As part of being a groom artist is just working around stuff when tools break, because it's kind of a fact of being when you're doing groom a lot. Let's see how that looks. Get some more guides. It's good shape. let's get a guide. So I'm still not 100% on what I want the hairstyle to be, which is obviously pretty bad practice. I'm thinking kind of like a bowl cut type thing, with like short shaved hair on the side. But need to figure that out kind of as we go, see what design works best. And I'm definitely not a painter, so I like just to, when I've not got a deadline, which obviously there's been a personal project, no deadline, I like just kind of mess about in 3D, see what happens. So let's see what it's like if I just sweep it. It's important to make sure that the root isn't ever flat to the mesh. You never don't want to be seeing this, just because hair naturally is kind of built into the head, like it goes through the skin. So anytime you're placing guides, just try to make sure your root isn't flat to the head. I mean, having some angle is fine, and obviously if the hair's pulled back in like a band or a tight ponytail, then you're going to have it pretty flat. But for loose hair like this, that's kind of doing its own thing, don't be afraid of having it stick out. Might increase the length of these top guys as well, but I'll do that after we've placed some more. So let's place another guide about here. The reason I like pasting guide shape so much as well, this is a quick thing to touch on. When you're pasting guide shape, or when you're not pasting guide shape, sorry, Action Interpolation is going to do its best job. And as far as tools go, Action Interpolation is pretty great. But something that I always find is interpolation kind of sacrifices length in a lot of places. So when I've not got many guides, I tend to find that, in fact I actually can demonstrate over here. If I add a guide going the opposite direction, so paste guide shape and curl in that way. So these guides are pretty long. If I put a guide in the middle, because it's going to try to interpolate those, and now I straighten these out, you'll find that because it's tried to linear interpolate them, it's like half a length. Like, this is quite a big issue in the long run. So when I'm starting a groom, while I'm still blocking out the flow, while I'm still figuring out the layering, I like to paste guide shape, and that just guarantees that the guide is going to be the same length every time you do it. Which, yeah, as I just said, is pretty important. So let's do this a bit. Get rid of, there we go. But yeah, so I like to paste guide shape, is the moral of the story on that one. So let's get some more guides in here. And the more guides you have, the better of a job it will do, generally speaking. It's got more information, which obviously when you want to interpolate something is, love this bug. When you want to interpolate something, the more information you've got, the better the results are going to be every time. So when blocking, don't rely on interpolation. I think I'll shorten the hair as we go along. So I'll leave him like that for now. I'll come back and shorten him in a second. Paste guide shape. Just get them vaguely going the direction I want. As I said, I'll do the other side after I've got this side generally figured out. If you're wondering why these guides are coming out so thick, it's just because my model isn't scaled. Like, he's so this is in centimeters right now, so he's about 6-7 centimeters tall. Obviously that's never going to give you good results when a groom tool expects you to be at least somewhat close to a real scale. I'll do one more guide here, and I can stop them with length. Yeah, generally as well, whenever you're grooming, you want to plan out what you're going to do. Obviously I'm not right now, so call me a hypocrite if you want. I just felt like doing some grooming out of nowhere. But obviously, if you're working on a project that has clients, or if you've got any team members, you're going to want to plan out what you're doing ahead of time. So otherwise, you're going to end up with stuff that really makes no sense. So, yeah, let's get the scale right. That'll do. Okay, let's fix these. Do I want that one there? Oh yeah, let's see how it goes. Let's see how good of a job so few guides do. Chances are this will barely work. Might need to increase this a bit. Even more, maybe. Hello, why are you not working? Right. So this bug is an absolutely joyous one. So let's see. Let's tear off this. There we go. So Action really doesn't like playing fair. So in the case of that just then, they're not previewing correctly. I don't know what causes it. Genuinely no clue. But generally speaking, what can fix it is just panels tear off and then just create a new one. If anyone does know why that matters, then that'd be okay. Apparently this is the cause. Don't say it to material override. So preview. Turn off tube shade. Preview. Influences in view. Set the width to a more reasonable value. Even more reasonable. Cool, that works. About the right width. So if I go in and hide my sculpt there, increase this density quite a lot. That's vaguely working. Just increase the modifier CV count. There we go. Modifier CV count, if you don't know, all that's doing is per hair is basically, you can imagine it as a NURBS curve, really. Each hair will have this many points, this many CVs, control vertices. So if you have a very low number, let's say 4, it's obviously going to try to interpolate, so you will see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 8. But the amount of points it actually has to control the shape of the hair, not just smooth, is this number you got set here. So my guides have 8 CVs. So really, if I want to follow the shape 1 to 1, I'd need at least 8 in this. Ideally more, because we will be adding noise, and if you change the CV count, your noise will look quite different depending on the frequency you got set. I tend to go for like 8 or 12 with a hair length like this. Higher will give you better results, but obviously be more RAM intensive. On this machine, I'm lucky enough that I've got quite a lot of RAM, but yeah, if you're grooming on a less powerful machine like I was until very recently, then you'll want to keep this CV count quite low. This will help you save a lot of resources on a computer. And also, I guess render time will be slightly impacted. I've not tested it, I might be wrong on that. But you always want to resource manage as much as you can. And the tube shade stuff I turned off earlier is, I don't know what it's technically doing. As far as I'm aware, it's just changing the normals of the mesh, like depending on how close to the middle you are. So if we get like one hair like these guys, the geometry is still the same, but as far as I'm aware, it's just changing the normals. You do get, again, if you have it on, you get a slightly better preview, especially if you turn on anti-aliasing. But I just don't like using it. I prefer to see it quite flat and then render to see like final fidelity. So I'm going to turn this guy off, hide the groom. And I'm also going to hide the mesh. In the geo. So what I'm about to do is just paint a quick mask to say where I want the hair to be. For now, I am going to do a temp mask that is only half the head. I will replace that later, but something that's quite important is making sure that you've got a Maya material assigned. XGen relies pretty heavily on the paint tool in Maya, which is an absolute piece of shit. A lot of the issues that people complain about in XGen are because of the paint tool. Things like lack of UDIM support, and just like a lot of the bugs, like maps missing, it all comes from this. Granted, XGen has its issues for sure, but generally you'll find that the paint tool fixes a lot. Paint tool causes a lot even. So I'm just going to go in, create a map. I'm going to call this the hair 01 mask. This map resolution here, not entirely sure how it works. It's not an actual image resolution though. This is kind of the density of the PTEX texture it puts out. I imagine as a result this is based kind of on your polygon density. This is quite dense as far as sculpts go, so I'm going to go with a value around 10. I don't have a method to pick in the numbers, but you can change them at any point. So I'm just going to create a black mask. And if we didn't have a Maya material assigned, this wouldn't be working. We'd just be seeing the standard material. But because we've got a Maya material assigned, like Lambert, Blinn, Von, we can color this correctly. So let's go into the paint tool. When doing masks as well, I like to use the solid brush, just because the other brushes, they never really reach this maximum color value. And that, for things like density, is fine, I guess. I prefer to just know what I'm doing. So if I'm using a number in the density, and I've got this set to solid white and a solid alpha, I know that the density is going to be very uniform, which is pretty helpful. So I'm just going to pull this up here. As said, I'll refine the map at a later point. For now, that's all I need. Let's just cut this in a bit. Yeah, so once that's done, make sure to hit Save Textures in here. This will save the actual, I think it's an IF format, IFF. I believe it's my own format, I've never seen it anywhere else. But basically this is saving your actual image. Scene has not been saved. Okay, I need to save my scene first. Dragon Boy. I have set a project like prior to this, so there's something to be aware of. Let's create a scenes folder. Dragon Boy grooming. Cool. So I'm just going to hit save now. Oh wait, is that not going to work? There we go. So save textures. That's just going to save the actual image. So if we want to recover this or transfer it using Mari or I guess Mudbox, Substance Painter, whatever it is you want to use, you need to hit this save, because save over here isn't actually saving the texture. It's just converting the texture to ptex and using it with an extra. In a way, it is saving the texture, but you can't really recover it. So now if I preview, we're just getting hair in that painted area, which is a lot better. Let's go back in channel box, the geo. Tonight's stream probably won't be that long, by the way, just because it's my first one. There's a lot of kind of messing about. As I said earlier, like confidence isn't huge right now. Haven't done grooming in a long time. I'm not trying to make excuses. This groom won't be great. But yeah, I won't be staying on for hours at a time. Maybe as time goes on, I'll get more comfortable with live streaming and talking. Then I might do a few more. So let's have more guides. Actually, let's make these longer. So I'm not too worried about matching the sculpt 1-to-1 with the final groom. I do want to get fairly close though, just because I spent time sculpting it to look a certain way. I'm just going to select this guide, but I'm not too worried about it matching anything in particular. I've got some reference on the other screen, but nowhere near getting to the point of actually using it. That's the reference. But nowhere near at a point where that's going to be too helpful tonight, just because references like this on animated characters I tend to use more for the modifiers, getting the noise right, getting the clumping right, but for actual shape, because he's a character I've just sculpted, based very loosely off a concept online, I don't really see the use in using too much reference to get flows. I just like to kind of play and design as I go. Again, if you're working in any kind of production or you have any kind of deadline or client, that is a really bad idea. Like, really bad idea. You always want to be planning fully what you do in those circumstances. So now we've got guide coverage kind of around. We will find that slowly but surely the interpolation is going to get better. So I start to trust it a little bit more. I do tend to scale up the guides a little bit when interpolation does its thing. Just because I still don't really trust the length that it gives me by default, and I can always adjust it by hand later. On head hair, I'd like to use as few guides as possible. So interpolation never really gets too good of a result for me. Scale him up a bit. Modeling toolkit. Let's try and, I know, box. So the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm thinking I kind of just want to make it like a little bit curly almost. Just a little bit of a wave to the hair. We'll kind of see how that turns out later. But I am realizing this guy's way too low, so I'm just gonna copy him. I think you can move guides. I prefer just to copy paste mine, to be honest. I saw your message, Jesus. That's the reason I'm not using a webcam, FYI. Camera's at a very low angle right now. Channel box. Alright, there we go. I would say, do you have any questions? But if it's just you, Jesus, there's no point asking. Right, okay, let's get some more of the shape at the front. I guess it's going to be the most complex area. Obviously, as we kind of get more and more partings in the hair, so I'm going to set this to reference. So as we get more and more partings in the hair, we are going to need a lot more guides. Line. I have no idea what you're on about, mate. But yeah, for areas like this, we can use a lot of guide clumping, and we can mask out the guide clumping. But just to get the correct interpolation kind of around it, making it not feel super sharp, we will probably need a few more guides. Obviously more than what we got right now, but you'll tend to find is you'll have clusters of guides following the same shape. So like this shape here is a bit too big really for me to use guide clumping on its own with like one guide down the middle. So I'm just going to pick a spot. Let's go there. And let's paste that guide shape. Unable to find guide. Oh yeah, because I deleted it. Copy. And I need to set that to template. No reference even. There we go. Paste guide shape. I actually pasted the wrong shape. Copy. Paste. Why do you have a proxy like that? Not using the modeling toolkit. What do you mean, like using topology as a general flow? Is that what you mean? Or do you mean more like drawing edges on? That's probably too far forward. Bring that back. Let's go there. Kind of interacting a bit too much. Let's put the line down. Oh, you mean like a ghosted type display? Yeah, I guess I could do that. I have no idea how to do it in the modeling toolkit, so I'm just going to assign a blend. Assign a material. So that kind of display. You sent a photo to interface with, didn't you? No, that's how I do it. Cool. Let's get the Lambert one back on here. So, what was that? Object X-ray. Oh yeah, so basically it's that. Cool. And that's per object. It's kind of cool. Sick. Cheers for the tip, man. For anyone who couldn't see that, because I have no idea how high quality the stream is, in the modeling toolkit, if you have an object selected, you can just go object up here and just X-ray on and off. I have no idea how high res anything is, or how loud I am, to be honest. But I'll rewatch this at some point. Probably cringe a lot while I'm at it, to be honest. Let's go this guide here. This guide. with it or do I go against it? Something that I guess one of the kind of challenges with that's good image quality, cool. But yeah, so one of the things that can kind of be interesting as a groom artist is sometimes deciding where to break the flow. So in the case of this, like technically the way I sculpted it is the hair coming from here would kind of fight against it and flow in this way, so this hair is kind of breaking out to the front. But obviously you could also pull this forward. I'll probably try both in the long run, but I think for now the one that will get the best results is having it fight against it a little bit. It will get some weird interpolations. I hope sound is okay too. It sounds like shit. It sounds shit like hell. Great, thanks. But yeah, like kind of doing this will give us some weird artifacting in the interpolation because, you know, I mean, Xgen doesn't know what we're trying to do. It doesn't know we're trying to break the flow in this area. So it's just going to look halfway between these two, just have hair kind of stretching tip to tip. Clumping will obviously help break that up a little bit. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm not being too precious about this guy. Just gonna get something out there. Figured it'd be fun to stream for a change. Last time I tried to stream, I was at a different house with the worst internet. I think I had like 0.2 upload speed. So watching things back, it made me cringe like a lot. I really need to decide what I'm going to do in this area though, because I can see I'm going to make some very questionable choices. It might almost be worth going back into ZBrush and kind of sculpting some hair flow, seeing what works. Or I could paint, but if I'm going to paint, I'm not going to paint on live stream. That is not my area. Let's get a few more guides and see what. Am I going to divide the clumps into different grooms or hardcore guide clumping? Definitely going to do the strays as a separate groom with like little white patches in the mask. These clumps at the front, I'm just going to see kind of what happens. Like if it doesn't work well with guide clumping, then I will break it up. I tend to like having guide clumping rather than separate grooms. It's just easier to manage, at least for me anyway. But that's kind of what I got in mind. But you are right. Like obviously something like this, I guess professionally we would split that. But for a little personal groom, I'm not really going to bother. I'm just gonna mess about with it, see what happens. Let's get some more guides in there. Scale them up a bit. Do you know if there's a way to set it so that the guide size is automatically 0.01? Obviously it is a scene scale issue, the fact that they are so thick, but it'd be nice if I could just tell Xgen that I'm going to be working in this. Those front clumps bring me memories. I'm actually not sure what memories you come into, but that makes me nervous whenever you say something like that. Let's just see what this is doing. It's going to be pretty gross, I'm sure. That's the fun of it, I guess. Not being too precious about it. Are you broken again? No? Okay, this one's new. Changing that API. Oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. Right, why are you not displaying? Let's try the previous one, although this probably won't work because wireframe view didn't fix it. Oh, it's this glitch where my Maya entirely freezes up. Okay. So seen as 180 megabytes to save. Probably should have referenced the modeling. You think it's the X-ray? And I can try. Although surely if it's the X-ray display, showing wireframe mode should fix that though, right? Let's go into hair template, align toolkit, object. Yeah, X-ray is not fixing it. I've had this bug a few times, so I'll just close it and reopen it. Change it into a different workspace. I mean, to be fair, Maya has entirely frozen. I might actually have to kill it. Sounds like a little soft lock. Just gonna task manager. Kill it off screen. Die. There we go. Yeah, it's with the delay on this stream, it's like really hard to figure out like what you're responding to. But now you said kill it, broke it, ha ha ha. I can kind of guess where you're at. Let's open scenes. Why is it set there? Let's just set the project again. Dragon Boy. Oh, also, this is where projects come to die. There's quite a few of them. I don't think any of them are finished. Student version. Right. Will you work? There we go. Yeah, sometimes just reopening Maya will fix it for me. It's my absolute favourite thing. So, let's get the hair template. I use the object X-ray. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to really figure out what I'm going to do with the hairstyle. Because this, like, obviously it's got intersections and stuff, but it doesn't feel like the flow is going to be appealing. And this area is just completely screwed, but that's kind of what we expected. In fact, let's go in and add some guide clumping and just see what happens. Modifiers. Clumping. That's maps. Good. Do that. Very flat. Yeah, I'll need a fair bit more guide work, I think, to get those shapes the way I want them to be. This is perfect though, absolutely no problems back here. Look shit, thanks Jesus. Can I go do him? Cool. Let's go in for grease pencil. Annoyingly, I can't use my Wacom right now. For some reason, it's broken. Not broken all of today, just while I've been streaming. I don't know what's going on with that. So, oh, this isn't gonna work. Oh no. Button sounds pretty good. Cheers, Matt. Right, okay, so Wacom's not working for some reason, so sculpting won't be an option, really. Grease pencil's gonna be a nightmare over mouse, so I might actually just have to X-Gen guide my way through a concept. Also, reopening Maya, just a quick side note. This button is evil. If you're new to grooming, get into the habit of middle mouse clicking and dragging him over. For some reason, I'm unable to delete him. Convert not found. So clicking him will convert all your hair to geometry, which is horrific. it will crash your computer most of the time unless you got a quite lightweight groom. You should use Houdini and use the draw curve. That would require opening Houdini though, and I've done enough of that lately. I think for now I'm gonna stay away from that. But yeah, like playing about with Houdini would be good. Groom tools in there do seem pretty nice. So. Wish that's so slow. You can make sound. You'll hear Becca in the background now. Let's just pull that back here. Let's just throw it back like the rest there. Maybe live streaming grooming while I'm so rusty is not a good idea.
You really should.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't groomed in a couple of months now, I think. Super rusty, but it's part of the fun. That's the biggest area. What are you laughing at?
Why does somebody not know how to flush the toilet after they had a shit?
That wasn't me. You know what
But
you're
it
doing.
was fucking money is disgusting.
Disgusting. Who's gonna play meme music in the background though?
No, I didn't mean to click on the video. It's a dog.
Izzy says, "Oh, it's Becca."
The best thing about the live stream.
Hey, there's an okay person at the microphone, I guess.
Better groomer than you, apparently.
Who are you? Yeah, I'm gonna lift these guys out. Let's just go over rotate. Be extra gross. So, from what I can gather, I've got more than just Jesus viewing at this point. So if anyone has any questions, not you, Jesus, you're not allowed.
Just ask them.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna ask anyway, isn't he? He'll be like, "Oh, where's Sam? Why is there no webcam? Why can't I see Sam?"
It's not that stage of quarantine yet.
Not that stage of quarantine. Let's do something. Break this a bit. If you can't tell, I'm completely like, not you. If you can't tell, I'm kind of completely free-farming it right now with guides, which, as I said earlier, is not a good idea. And you're probably seeing why now. This guide's sticking out way too much. Like, strictly speaking, I should find some reference. I guess next time I start a stream, I'll find some reference ahead of time. Actually target something. I'll have to do the eyebrows, which are a lot easier to kind of freeform.
Famous last word?
Famous last words. Well, eyebrows being easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I always get some kind of comment saying, "You're using too many guides." It's like, I know I'm using too many guides. That's why I say it. That is a bad idea. That's a bad idea. All the ideas are bad. If anyone has any illusions as to being a professional, kind of fixing the ideas of not knowing what you're doing sometimes, this is the perfect proof of being professional not meaning you always know what you're doing. Well, hey.
What?
You.
Maybe?
Yeah. Go for it.
The levitating bed.
Let's put another guide in the middle just there. Squeak.
There's a mouse. Ah.
You're supposed to hide.
What?
What?
Oh, I was drying these on the side of the bed.
What are you done? Oh, those.
They dry.
Let's do that.
Dun, 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 dun.
Bum, 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 bum. Bo-do-do-do-do, bo-do-do-do.
Flip, 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 flip.
Bum, bum, bum.
Beep, beep, beep.
Bo-do-bo-do-bo-do.
I'm gonna go and spam your live stream.
You're gonna go spam my live stream. You sat right next to me. You have more spamming abilities right now than anyone. You could literally just come over and shout like shitposts into the microphone.
Who else is watching?
I don't know how to check who's watching, to be honest. I don't even know how to check how many people are watching. All I can see is the chat.
Anna says he's gonna go see penis.
Pranav says what?
He's gonna go see penis.
just join the chat. That's not gonna work.
Why are you here?
I posted it on my Facebook.
Would you like a second pair of eyes?
Second pair of eyes. Oh, for getting... Yeah, if you want to come along and have a look.
What's going wrong?
Well, I've just got kind of no idea. There's no like design behind this right now. I'm just kind of free-forming it and playing about with flows. There's obviously some patches that have no guides.
Are you looking for like a kid's kind of messy hair?
Yeah, I guess it would be good to get some ref.
I think so.
Cheers.
You want something a bit more like free-flowing?
Yeah, something that's kind of like slightly wavy. Let's fill this area around. Becca's being my hero and finding some reference for me.
I'm a strong believer in reference.
You are? I'm a strong believer in reference as well, to be clear. Yeah, they're just... Like...
Just jumped your gun.
There's just not many fucks to be given for my first stream. Like, as for, you know, I've got some motivation to do some work, which in of itself is rare.
The model that you made for me.
Yeah, and the model I made for you. I can make you another one. Sculpting is not too big of a hassle.
If you open... This kid has like the perfect hair, but it's also a really fucking low quality photo.
Are you able to see how many people... Oh, I think that's a bit too curly, to be honest.
Oh, here, yeah, there's 8 now.
There's 8 people? 8 people? Wow, I'm famous.
Get Jesus to give you his mouse, and then you get add hair on top.
I'm not going to add hair to the Jesus mouse.
I think it's a perfect idea.
I think it's not a perfect idea.
I could read out like really dirty fanfic in the background.
You
This
could.
be, like, the start
Just
of
read
my
my
YouTube.
Immortal. Read my Immortal in the
No,
background.
I prefer the B-movie porn.
No, I'm not allowing that.
I'm trying to find like wavy kids hair. Does it need to be male? Can it be girly? Because he's got quite long hair, hasn't he? Oh, something like this might be okay. I hate the style of kids' hair. Why does nobody wear that?
Jesus, when you said yeah you do, what was that in reply to? Because there's like a 8-second delay. It's kind of hard for me to keep track.
Yeah, I yelled. You could hear myself. I could hear myself yelling "Hi, Jesus" from the bathroom.
I need to copy shapes.
I have another image, but I need to like.
Come on, let me slide you. There we go.
I'll actually send you the image because My life is trash. I'm gonna set this as your background on your computer.
You say my life is trash. I need to send you an
My
image.
life is trash, not your life. Something like that, a bit more easier.
Yeah, it's closer. I'm doing a bit of an undercut, but that'd be helpful.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of an undercut, but that's kind of helpful.
You go for an undercut. You could have said.
And you saw the model.
Oh, as if by magic, undercut with wavy hair.
I feel like I'm very slowly drifting this towards my VFX films groom with the curls.
Again.
That seems to just be the sort of groom
It's the only one groom you can do.
It's the one groom. My
All
whole
projects,
time as a professional
any-
groom artist, I just groomed the
Any
same
movie that
groom.
MC's ever done, and it's like any character that has that style of hair is Edward.
Every single one I ever do will have that same style. Doesn't matter what I'm grooming. It can be NDA or NDA. It will still have curly hair.
Hi, Pranav. I can't say that word online because we might get demonetized. Oh wait, the joke's on you. We're not monetized at all.
I will never be monetized.
So I'm gonna put up a GoFundMe link.
I'm gonna put up an OnlyFans.
An OnlyFans. Well, it's just me covered in like bags of pasta, fucking toilet paper.
Lots of pesto.
Toilet paper. Mm.
Can you not?
Being like, ooh. You know that song that the DJ I like?
What?
You know the DJ that I like, and he like samples the music, and he's like, let me and I wanna fuck, and he just, yeah, that one.
Yeah, don't play that out loud.
We'll definitely get demonetized that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not monetized anyway, so I don't worry about the demonetized stuff. I really need to break this guide.
Let me see. What guy?
This guide. I'm just gonna pull him that way. Let's just see how this goes.
How have you created your final year? I'm also gonna do some groom.
You're gonna do some groom as well?
Yeah.
We're gonna be groom buddies.
Yeah, well, you're not here to help me, so.
Yeah, I'm not here to help you. Well, I'm right next to you. I can still
Scream.
shout vague instructions.
We could live stream my shit to show you how not to do.
I think right now I'm showing people how not to groom.
Jesus, fire him.
Jesus can't fire me. He's not my boss.
Jesus, fire him.
Jesus fire me.
Don't
Apparently.
never let him in the groom again.
And never let me do groom again. I will see to that myself, thank you.
Is David Mayhew watching?
If he is, that'd be actually hilarious. This is what 3 months of not grooming can do to a guy.
I'm Matthew Dunny's here.
How much do I want to break this?
This is so weird.
What's weird?
There's 11 people watching now. I feel like all of them are the people I told.
Oh, 11 people are watching, but at least 5 of them are here to shitpost me. Like
one of them's me, actually.
One's you, and you're right next to me.
I'm just being a
One is Jesus, and he will always be my favourite troll. Well, not my favourite. He's.
Let him cook. Jesus, he cooked my chicken tonight for me. He was very good.
Yeah, Jesus,
It was very
I
succulent.
cooked something today.
You want something?
Leave me alone.
You cooked it or you cooked it?
I cooked it. I just sat there watching it. It was great.
Stop cocking up the chicken. The boys.
I'm cooked. Then he will be fired.
Are you on delay or are you just stupid at reading?
What's it?
Oh, that was cute. What?
What are you doing?
What did I do? What did you do? Apparently Jesus says you're cute.
Jesus says I'm cute.
Yeah.
Aw. It's not a very mutual opinion.
Nicest compliment you've ever been given.
I know, like prior to this, my best compliment was you're only a dick sometimes.
That is good. Oh god.
That's a lie. Jesus is actually a nice person. He just tries not to be sometimes.
He just tries not to be. Most of the time? Question mark?
I have too many questions.
Too many questions and no answers.
Ooh, Monty's baking a ginger cake.
I'm making banana bread with lots of nuts in it.
I haven't tried it yet, but
It's not ready yet because I turned the oven on because I didn't want to burn it.
it's not ready because it's not cooked. I will eat the dough. I will get the poisoning.
No. No dough for you. I'm thinking of starting a course called What Not to Do When You're Lip dubbing.
Well, and just kind of. You know what would be really fun? You know, like there's that play that
What
the drunk play, like the play that goes wrong.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be fun to do like a live stream of grooming or look dev while heavily drunk?
Why don't we do it Friday night? Ask VFX Bob.
Uh,
The Kraken.
I don't know if you guys can see what's happening on my screen right now, but this is a new kind of broken.
Let's see.
My channel box editor is all levels of fucked. Look at this. So wherever I move my mouse, removes the box.
It's not on the screen. Your screen's frozen.
Alright, I have no channel box editor now.
I think your screen's frozen.
My screen isn't frozen because it's right here.
I will say Mur and I'll say it the correct way.
That is actually a brand new.
It's weird, there's a delay.
Yeah, the delay is like 8 seconds. Can you not play it out loud though?
Yeah.
That's one of my triggers.
Jesus, don't be rude. Jesus, we should do
Why is this?
stop cracking Maya. I thought that was your job.
This is new. I've never had a channel box editor.
Save it and reopen the scene, you plump.
I've already done that once during this stream. Alright, thick guides from here on out.
Thick guys?
Thick guides.
Thick or thick, Michael?
Workspace reset. Alright, I'll try a different workspace. I don't think that will have though. So let's go to my... Oh, that's broken too.
Like, reopen the scene.
Everything's broken.
Reopen the scene. I'm proud of you, honey.
Guys.
We did it!
Alright, from here on out.
Wreck-It Ralph 2, break the internet.
Oh, everything's broken. My hair's gone too.
This stream is a nightmare and this is
Oh,
trash.
God. Maya. Maya's a piece of shit, and I sometimes forget what level. I need to sing something that'd be fixed. I am not going to sing Jesus. I don't think I am willing to go down for war crimes in this chat. I can adjust the existing guides though. That's something I can do. This stream is now going to be a 24-hour stream of me moving these 80? No, way off 80. Oh, my outline is dead too.
Reopen the scene.
Everything's gone. What the hell is going on?
Open.
Everything is gone.
Just reopen the scene, you fucking
Channel
bonkers.
box. Attribute editor. Attribute editor's alive.
Daniel, I agree with your comment. Like and subscribe.
Pranav Mike is a hashtag professional. Thanks, guys.
You gotta talk dirty to Maya, mate.
I gotta talk dirty to it.
Ooh, you close that outliner.
That's not how you talk dirty.
This is what happens when you don't set the project. Duddy, don't start.
I set a project. I've set a project twice now.
No, he didn't.
I actually did.
Jesus, it was gonna look like me. I was gonna shave my head yesterday, and then Mike told me I'd look ugly if I shaved my head.
I didn't tell you to look ugly. Don't paint me out to be a horrible person while we're on the live stream.
He is a horrible. Save me. I'm locked with him in a. How many foot would you say this room is?
I have no idea how big this room is.
What, 15 foot by 15?
15 by 15?
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh my god, even that bit's frozen. So
It's so professional that he needs a TD. Well, we have pipeline here among us, so.
So I just saved my scene, and even the scene name isn't updating. This is a new low.
Pranav, I am an innocent child. Dirty talking to me is like, you gotta wash the dishes. Like, speaking of which, Mike.
Hey.
You gotta wash the fucking dishes, man.
You're just trying to like throw out all these tiny things, aren't you? Oh yeah.
How to embarrass a boy 101.
Oh, I can't be embarrassed.
Can
I actually can. I really
Yes,
can.
you
Don't
can.
try.
Oh, do you know who I blame?
Who do you blame?
Who do I blame?
Obama?
No. What? I'm not Trump. No.
Thanks, Obama.
For all of the viewers of this chat, I blame that the dang bitch Carol Baskin.
No.
Check the septic tank for the project. Is it covered in sardine oil? Did you fed it to the tigers?
Can you stop?
No. You started. I also broke my look, Dev. Can we not just have a chat?
Are any of the project names in my project folder NDA? It's been on screen twice.
No, they're all my shit. It's fine.
Ah, cool.
Drop those as right there.
I was just like, that could be an issue that I've not thought about yet.
For anyone, did you update your Maya?
Did you update your Maya? I haven't updated in a while, so it should be stable.
Is this? I think I'm still using 2018. Yeah, I am still using.
You're still using. I'm on 20.
I like 2018 because it's stable.
I'm on 29.
It's like
No Maya version is stable.
It's like my mental health.
I mean that's accurate.
Wavering all the time.
Move this over again. Right, can I?
Ooh.
Tiny sculpt brush again.
She shared a formula and I like it.
Her husband was totes tiger food. Pranav's on your side. I still haven't seen Tiger King though. I need to go see it. I say go see it as if it's an event. I need to
watch it.
Sit down on the sofa and do the exact same thing I've been doing every day anyway. This guide is going to give me nightmares. Alright, we need more guides in this area. And let's paste the guide shape again. My guess is no one in the stream has any questions and everyone's here to do some light trolling for the night. Especially you, Becca.
What?
Especially you.
What did I do? Hi.
She says hi. Jesus is leaving. I'm safe. Bye, Jesus.
It's okay, you're down to 9.
Oh, Ginger Cake is done. That's why he's going. I'm down to nine viewers. We're already on the decline. This is going well, boys. Right, I'm going to do some super basic guide work. Not guide work, modifier work.
I hope David doesn't see this, because if he did, he would be very disappointed.
Oh, David would be disappointed by seeing this for sure. If he watches this in the future. Hi, David. Miss you guys.
Dear Corvid and Disney, please open everything up again. And all production companies.
All production companies. Every single one of them.
I should probably
Oh, someone might actually have a question. Exciting times. This hair's way too low.
Somebody's actually asked a question.
Do you like the 3950X? Yeah, it seems alright. I'm rendering with RenderMan, which is obviously CPU intensive, and my render times are pretty solid. Although I haven't got any scenes and render times from my previous, like from my old laptop, so I can't really compare it. Wait, haha, flattening the curve, that's a new level of miking. I don't know what this is in reference to.
Jesus, I thought you were leaving.
Yeah, Jesus, aren't you leaving?
I definitely fucked up these UVs.
You fucked up the UVs?
Yeah, which is unlike me because I do enjoy
Yeah, you're normally quite good at UVs.
I don't know what I've done.
I don't think anyone knows what you've done.
Why have you done this?
Can't believe you've done this. Let's see. Hide the render geo. Action. Paint. There we go. That'll be why. Oh yeah, so side note, if I didn't, coming back to something I said earlier, if I didn't hit this save button right now because I've closed Maya and reopened it, this likely wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have been able to reopen this texture, so that'd be a bit of a nightmare right now. I didn't mean to smooth it. and set color to 1. I'll do as a temp, save textures, save ptex, move tool, generate groom. Oh, that's better. Lots of intersection, my favourite. Getting better though. What am I doing? There we go. Enchant box. In terms of render speed though, I haven't set up a hair shader, so this might not actually work, but I'll do a quick render man. So this is, I'll get the details of the render in a second. But this is rendering 1440p, I think, maybe 1080p. I'll have to double check that. With path tracing. And oh, Lambert shading on hair looks beautiful.
Pardon?
Lambert shading on hair looks interesting.
I think it's kind of cool.
In a way, it does.
I like that kind of style.
What, grey hair?
I've got grey hair.
You have like 10.
I have many.
Yeah, once this render's done, I'll check. Oh, actually, let's go into performance. This is what my CPU usage is doing. So it's maxing out and everything. It's 3.9 gigahertz right now on 32 threads.
Oh, that's cool.
What?
The render? I like it.
Oh, the render?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the CPU thing, then I was like, it's really not that cool. But yeah, so that was kind of how long that render took. I didn't time it kind of foolishly, but the render settings for that render were it's set to 1080p, it's not huge, with max samples 256, pixel variance 0.01, core 6 enabled, which will be used on the eyes, and then max indirect bounce is set to 8. So that'll be kind of vague performance, I guess. It's not the most useful metric because I can't compare it to anything else, but it's a thing, and it does the job. It is quite expensive though. I guess I think I paid $750 for the CPU, but I did buy it literally within hours of it being released. I'm sure you can probably get it cheaper now, although maybe not with everything that's going on. Maybe some supply issues. Let's hide this guy. So let's get doing some basic modifier work. I'm going to change the shader as well. So get you. So actually, editor. Panna's making noodles. Do we want any?
No, we have noodles. I made curry, well, stir fry, not curry.
I helped.
Might help.
I'm going to create a new shader actually. So let's grab this guy, assign new material. Not redshift. Why? Not visible. That's weird. Tube shader. Select this guy. Windows. I think it's the browser. There we go. List. Tangent. Did I do any overclocking? I didn't do any overclocking. Although I did. I didn't build my PC. I know. Shoot me. So yeah, I got CyberPower to overclock it before the center. Just because, like, you know, I've not built a computer before, and to be honest, spending a good amount of money, I figured I'd rather let professionals do it, especially with a CPU that was so new at the time. I didn't want to risk doing anything and not being able to get a replacement. Oh, you ordered a new system with a 2070 Super. Yeah, so I'm using the 2070 Super as well. So it's pretty decent. I use it occasionally in Redshift, although I don't use Redshift fully because I don't have a license. I just run the demo version. So I don't know if there's any like difference really between the two in terms of rendering, but I tend to get pretty decent performance on semi-heavy scenes. Obviously, everything's kind of subjective because I don't have like a standard scene and test and stuff. But yeah, right. So let's get you turned on. To you. I'm gonna add some basic clumping. So modifiers, clump. So setup maps. I'm gonna generate some basic. Oh, that is way too low. 20. Generate. Still too low. 40. Generate. Let's go 100. That is. Oh, that would be too much. Generate. 500. There we go. That's about what I want. Yeah, quick tip actually. So when you set this density value, obviously that's I don't know what numbers it's going off exactly, but with mask set to 1, it's going to generate basically this exact amount of density. It might be curves per unit. It might say here, I guess. Number of points clumps per unit area. So I don't know which unit. I guess it's going off centimeters. But yeah, anyway. So mask set to 1 means it's going to generate the full amount. If you set this mask to anything other than 1, so let's say 0.8, it's going to generate this number and then kind of prune a percentage of them. So what that means you can do is if I set this to really low, I get a huge amount of size variation between each clump. So you get some clumps that are, obviously these ones at the edge we can't trust, but you will get some clumps that are much like thicker than others. It just gives you a nice kind of variation, and it's completely free. So that's something I quite like to do. Yeah, you did. Did you go through CyberPower as well, or did you go through like Scan or another site like that? Right, so we've got our basic clumping. Let's play about see looser. Something like that will do for now. The second layer clumping. When adding a second layer of clumping as well, get the previous number you used, which in my case was 500, and just as a baseline, go 3 or 4 times denser. That will tend to give you somewhat natural feeling results. Again, like you always want to check your reference, but generally speaking, that will work quite well. So let's go in. I'm not going to loosen this one. So that's some noise. Right, so that's some cut just to get that variation in there. Right, so obviously I can push the modifiers a lot further, but I think kind of seeing this is proving that I need to do a lot more guide work really to get some variation. This just feels incredibly flat. I mean, we've got a highlight that's going the whole way across the groom and intersections, but that's less of an issue right now. So breaking up this highlight is kind of the main priority. So let's go into the guides. And part of that will be because they're all flowing pretty much the same direction, but part of it will also be they're all kind of flat with each other. It'd be good to add some vertical kind of waves. So I'm just going to go in and break this guy out. This will create some intersection, which I'll show you. But it will also kind of help a little bit in breaking that silhouette. Not silhouette, sorry, the reflection. I'm just going to hide him and break the angle a bit. Let's see if that works. That's a bit nicer. This guide is down way too low. Something you'll find when grooming is you'll probably like place a guide, think it's right, and then later on, like as you're building more and more, you'll realize how little space you gave yourself. So in the case of this guide, he was super flat, which meant I had just no breathing room. We've also got this issue here. That's just some interpolation issues. The guides are just too different in this area, so we need to either move this one so it's not so sudden, or add more guides in between to kind of teach it what we want it to do. Shooting for an hour and a half already, that's mad. You're way too low. Didn't it again? Oh, there we go. Thought it broke again then. I was about to cry. Alright.
I don't have my results with some UVs. I got to try to fix.
What are the UVs doing?
It's they're just not bang what I thought they would. It's weird.
To be fair, I had an issue earlier where, for whatever reason, the Unfold 3D just wasn't working. Like, it just won't work at all.
Is it installed okay?
Yeah, it's installed fine. I've used it loads of times, but for some reason it wouldn't UV my scalp mesh, so I had to use the Maya UVs, which are just the worst. Oh, this needs all the tips to be flowing backwards. Just a tip. That will help quite a lot, I think. Once I've got all the others.
You're using the right way?
Yes and no. Hey Mike, I miss some of your stream. Do you plan on posting this? I'm pretty sure YouTube will automatically post it when I'm finished. I'll edit out the first like 10 minutes or so because I think it was literally just me clicking, like not actually saying anything or not actually achieving anything. I don't think Maya was even open. So I edit that out, but I should be posting it. It's not the most helpful video though, to be honest. It's kind of just like getting to grips with how to set up stream keys, and other than that, general having no idea what I'm doing because I didn't pre-plan anything. But I'll post it. So I guess I'm going to be working on this guy for a little while, so I may as well kind of document that. Since I guess it's always interesting to see how someone works. Oh, bye, Pranav. What's that? I hope he enjoys his noodles.
Nudes.
Newts.
Send nudes.
Send noodles.
Send noodles.
That'd be fun. This guy's vaguely based on like a. You can if you want, but this guy's vaguely based on like a dragon weird creature thing, right?
Yeah.
Wonder if I can kind of add that into the hair somehow.
Well, I thought if you were given the side cut, you could have it like fade into like scale or something.
Scales to hair, that could be
not
kind of
do
cool.
the undercut, have it as scales. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could be cool. This top area is so flat.
Pranav sent me a photo of the noodles.
He sent me photo noodles. I hope he's aware how jealous you're feeling.
They kind of look really nice. Like, I'm gonna ask them what they are so I can get them.
Make newts.
I made notes. I literally said, what kind of those tell?
What?
What?
Perfect.
What?
English is your first language, right?
I think so. It depends on what culture you want to go for.
What culture?
Yeah. What culture am I? I don't know. Aha, you bastard. This is the most annoying thing. It's a really simple object, but the UV is just, man, why are you gonna play like this?
It just doesn't like you today, does it?
I was bitching about your live stream, and now I'm bitching about this. I also have lost.
Seems like a very useful reference for layering and stuff. Thanks very much. No problem, man.
Is it not?
I'm gonna pretend I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
First time.
You know many things. I believe in you.
I do know how to groom. It's just it's been so long. Like,
We could tell a story of our development since I moved to London, because you've been moved, I've been moved.
do we want to tell a story on the first live stream?
Yeah.
People aren't here for my personality.
You're not.
They're here either for memes or grooming.
Yeah, and I'm here to provide the memes, so
I don't have a personality, guys.
So
Come on.
that would be quite cool. You could do a live stream and talk about, like, you know.
I guess I could do.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting
Put
one.
out my national insurance number, my current address, my mother's maiden name.
Ask people for their debit cards.
If you guys want to donate to my OnlyFans, just hit me up.
I'm just making your life a lot easier.
By doing what, is that?
Getting you money.
Get me money. You're not getting me money in the
I've told
slightest.
you this before. It's all about who you know.
It's all about who you know.
And Jesus just ain't cutting it. So
You are the
Love.
network.
Jesus is the network. Hey, excuse me, I know many a person.
I'm here because Becca told me to.
I met you on Facebook.
You did meet me on Facebook. Now you're stuck living with me in quarantine.
Oh, fucking hell.
I know your life went down the shit, didn't it?
Got me an industry job.
Yeah, got your job, paying proportional rent.
We are paying proportional.
We are paying proportional rent. Pretty happy with the setup we've got, to be honest. Alright. I'm going to need to paint some maps for this one. So in terms of, if anyone's kind of watching this and wondering how you're going to get rid of these spiky shapes, and they are a bit repetitive, there's quite a lot of different ways. I won't be doing that in this video for sure, because I've got a lot of guide work to do, and to be fair, I think I'll kind of leave the hair at a state not too dissimilar for this before I move into eyebrows, and then I'll come back to it, just to take a break from it. But generally, what you can do, you can paint either a map to control the strength and just have some variation, or you can add noise. It's kind of up to you, to be honest. I generally prefer to use maps now. Over time, I've gotten used to not using noises. I just find it's a bit too chaotic in ways. You can obviously map everything though. If you want to break it up with noise, then go ahead. You can map that to be different regions. But I generally like to use maps on the clumping strength, just because it allows the hair to be more parallel, so it feels neat. Becca, we are friends because of Mike. We owe him everything. And Pranav, we're friends because of Daddy Reliance, so we owe him everything. Don't bring Daddy Reliance into this.
Continue teaching.
Have I ever told you the story of Daddy?
I will actually. Alright, come on, sure.
When I was in India.
Well, Pranav worked at DreamWorks.
Pranav did work at DreamWorks.
Pranav's the new canon.
Pranav's done some cool shit. Pranav, you've done some cool stuff. I'll give you that.
Pranav is a cool person.
Pranav is remotely cool, yes.
Okay, fix that UV. Now, this motherfucker.
Oh shit, here we go. I think he's just caught up to the Daddy Reliance, but don't worry, we're not going to talk about it.
Who?
What?
Who said it?
Pranav.
Tell Pranav no. Just nah, and
Okay,
then
just now.
just no.
This hair needs to be way flatter. And shorter. And better. I wonder how many people I don't know will watch this stream over time.
Well, I'm still here.
I know you quite well. Hi, any Houdini grooming tutorials planned? Absolutely not. I do use Houdini. I don't use it for grooming, so I'm not gonna try to teach something that I have no idea about. And to be fair, I wouldn't even say this is a tutorial, to be honest. Um, like I just wanted to kind of casually groom. I'm not rushing through anything. I've not planned things out properly. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of share.
My
And
bread.
your bread. Oh, bread.
My piece of crispy, my mom.
But yeah, so in terms of Houdini tutorials, though, Jesus makes some decent stuff. Don't let him hear that. But he makes some decent stuff. There's also is it Marinho? If you join the CG grooming artist group, I think it's Marinho. I can't pronounce his second name. But he looks like he's making on a really great tutorial at the moment for Yeti as well. It's pretty similar workflow from what I've heard. I do know how to groom in Yeti, and I know loosely how to groom in Houdini, but definitely not to a point where I can teach it. It'd be doing a disservice. I don't really like it when people teach things they don't really know. It's something I've done in the past, and I heavily regret doing. Granted, I've never posted stuff I didn't know how to teach, but I have in person taught stuff I didn't really know how to teach. Luckily, it never backfired, but it's something I don't want to risk, especially now that I'm quote unquote professional. Heavy use of quotes in that one though.
Bread's ready.
Bread. We have bread.
Oh, the bed sheet. Oh. The lady has LED lights.
What's it?
The girl has lights in
Oh yeah.
the
8:30. Pranav tells me to flatten the curve.
Which one?
The guides of COVID.
You've been saying COVID wrong the whole time.
Yeah, COVID.
COVID.
It's COVID. Getting pretty tired of being part of a major historical event.
I just want to go home.
You are home. No leaving.
Like,
I do look forward to the next time we get to go to Belfast.
can I ask you some questions? Can I interview you? Right.
Sure, okay. I don't know how well the chat can hear you, but
You can repeat the questions.
okay, I'll repeat the questions just in case.
Okay, cool. So
This is my girlfriend interviewing me, for those who don't know.
I'll ask actual questions. For those that might be interested. Oh shit. Sorry. Sorry.
Good question.
I just
Solid question.
I am solid.
Fuck off.
What made you want to become a groom artist?
What made me want to become a groom artist? Jobs were available, my dude.
Thanks for ruining my.
No, it's like I was quite lucky. I kind of found groom at the right time, to be honest. So the question, I don't know how well people could hear it, is like, why did I want to be a groom artist? And to be honest, I didn't plan on it ahead of time. Like, I really wanted to be a modeler and look dev artist for a really long time. But I started learning groom, about 1 year left of uni. I started getting really deep into groom. Quite enjoyed it, and at the time NPC happened to be hiring. I was quite lucky in that I knew people who were working at the studio, and they were able to kind of drop a little message to the head of department, who was kind enough to interview me. Hello, David. So if he ever watches this, but yeah, I was super lucky in that I got the job. I was super early on into grooming. Like when I got there, I felt completely incompetent, but which partially because, strictly speaking, I was, and most people joining the industry are. It's kind of part of being it. But it was a fun little journey. Did it for a couple of years. But again, it's not something I kind of planned on ahead of time. But one thing you'll tend to find is you'll tend to just stumble into things from time to time that are quite helpful for industry. So, obviously in your case, you went through production first.
Yeah.
Which set you up with some really, really great people, and that knowledge has been helpful for you in other stuff as well.
Yeah, no.
So.
Wink.
But that said, there are people who plan years ahead of time and going into exactly what they want to do, and they do it very well, and so they
I don't think it's. I know a lot of people do plan and they want to do specific things, but art industry is so changing.
Well, the thing is
All
with this
the
industry is
time.
like I want to be a modeler and look dev artist, but like as you know from being a look dev artist yourself, it's hard, man. Like it's really hard to get into those two. Like modeling, especially, I think, just because there's so much competition. And like I was an okay modeler. I wasn't great when I was leaving uni, but I could model something decent. Um, get relatively okay topology, but the level you need to be at for industry is just it's just not the same. Um, so like again, I was quite lucky in that when I got into groom, it was pretty early on. So there wasn't a huge amount of people out there that really know what they're doing. Don't get me wrong, there was some incredible groom artists, but the number of groom artists was pretty low. Um, so at that point, the skill like floor to get in as a job was pretty
It was kind of
compared to other departments. Again, like modeling are modeling the most extreme one. I think. Oh, probably animation actually. I think animation are the absolute hardest to get into as far as I'm aware. I tried to be an animator for like 2 years, like back in 2012. Oh, I'm old now. um, yeah, old and decrepit. Yeah, you're not too far off to be honest. But yeah, it's like I worked to be an animator for 2 years, and that shit is hard. Like animators have an insane job, so that's probably the hardest one to get into. Um, but yeah, tangent over, I guess. And Pranav says he wanted to be a texture artist, and now he's a TD.
What
You're the best TD I've ever had, though, Pranav.
You're a great person.
Yeah, and you're a great person.
What has been?
And we also have your Cards Against Humanity at the house.
For anyone
We've
who's-
dibs that now.
Oh yeah, shit, forgot about that. Sorry, we'll have to clean it before we return it.
But what?
It's Corvid. He had it.
Corvid.
Yeah. Or Corona. Fuck, we said it wrong again. Where were you? If anyone's listening right now and they're like groom, they're wanting to kind of get into groom, what would be your advice for like reels and stuff? What do people?
So if anyone who wants to get into groom, what would be my advice? So it's going to change a lot depending on what projects are going per studio. Obviously, projects are constantly changing. There was a big peak. You had Jungle Book and Lion King not too far apart in terms of releases. So obviously, at that point in time, industry really wanted creature groomers. At the moment, I'm not too far in the loop, and obviously with COVID, like a lot of stuff's cancelled right now, or at least delayed very heavily. But I'd say learn creature grooming because that's always going to be the most common for like a full CG setup. Digitable grooming is incredibly important as well because again there'll always be digitables, but it's kind of a case of looking at what films are on their way, like what early releases you can find out from Disney, or anything from, well, I guess Disney own basically everyone at this point. But anything from, if you look at like upcoming Disney and Universal releases for like 2 years away or a year away, depending on the project, kind of aim towards that. If you happen to know something 2 years before it comes out, which is pretty rare, but I guess Lion King was known quite a few years before that came out.
Disney has a list up on their website of all their projects.
Disney has a list
for the next 10 years.
Yeah, so like you can probably check what films are upcoming and try to find out if you can which vendors, so like NPC or ILM or Double Negative, whoever. Find out which one of those are doing it, and then kind of target your reel to that. Because normally they're hiring for the next big film. Because every studio has like a kind of a core team that can ride for everything, but they need to ramp up from time to time. But in terms of like showreel, don't be afraid of actually finishing something, and by that I mean like don't just do a groom and be like that's good enough. Having 2 solid grooms, maybe 3 solid grooms, is enough to get you in. Like when I joined the industry, I think I had 2 grooms in my showreel. My showreel was a generalist showreel, so it had modeling, look dev work, I think it had some comp work. I can't remember.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, so like I had like a lot of stuff in there, so I think 2 grooms, and I was able to get in because a professional groomer will be able to look at a beginner's groom, and they'll see every single issue, but they'll see what you understand. If your guide work is really solid, if your layering is really good, if the length is nice and consistent, if you show your setup like the guides, will be able to sell like how nice it is. Because like let's say this guy for example, this isn't ideal guide work, but if I saw this from a student, I'd think it's pretty solid. I've still got a ton more work to do on this and probably a few more redos. But if I saw like uniform spacing, length is pretty even, the layering is mostly there. There's quite a few guides, but again, like this at this level would already be enough for me to kind of be like, oh, this person knows what they're doing. And I've never been in a hiring position, so I can't speak for those people. I guess leads might look for something a bit different, but as a groom artist or ex-groom artist, I guess that's what I'd look for. So show your setup, do a couple of really good grooms, 2 or 3. As Prano says in the chat, yeah, looking at trends, digidoubles looks like it's pretty decent at the moment. And there'll always be digidoubles. As long as there's films, there'll be digidoubles.
Yeah, there's always.
You'll be shocked how close they have to be as well. So try to get an easy hairstyle. Don't go for there's people who want to show off in their show reels, which is what they're for, I guess. But don't target like really difficult grooms, because if you pull it off, it'll be great, but more than likely you won't pull it off as well as if you picked a simple hairstyle and spent that time really matching it and getting it beautiful. We'd rather see, at least from my perspective, I'd rather see a perfect match on a simple hairstyle than an okay approximation of a complex hairstyle. There's places for both though. Oh, bye Daniel. Hope you enjoyed it. But yeah.
What's probably the biggest or the most useful thing you've learned?
Most useful thing I've learned?
Yeah.
How to accept feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, how to accept feedback is definitely like, obviously I could answer that question technically, like, making sure you always set a project, making sure, learning how to debug. Learning how to debug is insanely important, because most of your job is debugging most of the time professionally. Because when you're working super fast for projects, shit breaks all the time. But as an artist and as a professional, I'd say by far the best thing to learn, and this is a lesson I had to learn coming out of uni, is how to manage your ego and how to take feedback. Because in uni I had a pretty bad ego at points. I think towards the end that I started to settle, I started to really know that I actually knew nothing. But at the start of uni, I wasn't ideal. I think my ego was a bit out of control. It wasn't mad. I don't think I ever intentionally did anything, but unintentionally I did quite a lot of questionable stuff. But there's no space for that in the industry. There's absolutely no space. If you're a junior, especially if you're a junior, and you've got an ego going in, leads aren't going to like it. And you will get humbled very quickly when you realize how good other people are. And even when you see other juniors, like there's some juniors now that come in, and I remember chatting to Jesus about this. Jesus Fernandez, for anyone who's not watching this kind of live. And we were saying how sometimes you get juniors coming in that just scare you as to how good they are and how quickly they've got to that level. And that can be terrifying. I guess that's where the ego of a lead can come in, is like, accepting sometimes that people come in and they're better than you, or like closer than you'd want them to be. But yeah, just, don't fight your leads, don't fight your supervisors. They're doing their job. Question them from time to time. It's important to not always, always do what you're told, but don't always just do something if you think it's really not going to work. Like, at least mention it, but you don't know better than the lead or the supervisor or the client. Well, client's a questionable one sometimes, but client is paying, so what they say is final, whether you like it or not. So yeah, it comes down to managing ego is like the biggest lesson to learn for industry. Right, guides are kind of blocked for this side.
I think it's one thing that I learned just from watching people as well. You said about like ego and stuff.
I don't know how well they can hear you in the background.
Oh, I'm just talking about like not everyone's built to be a lead. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
very common. That's normal. It's not like a slap on the wrist, you're a failure kind of thing.
Yeah. So again, I really don't know. I really don't know how well people can hear Becca in the background, but she made a pretty solid point, which was like something that comes into the whole ego discussion is be aware that not everyone is built to be a lead. Like, you can be an absolutely incredible artist, like one of the best in the studio, and absolutely have shit leadership skills. I've been quite lucky in that I've always had leads that know what they're doing, and are very good. Like, some of the leads I've had while I was at MPC were just incredible. They were really, really good at kind of, handling. I guess one of the things that leads help handle is like, how easy it is to get down about your work if you're getting bad notes. Like some leads are incredible at managing that stuff, and I have been quite fortunate. But obviously there are leads in the industry who might not know how to lead, but might be insanely good artists and are being tested. So if you ever find yourself in a lead position and you think, obviously, like I'm now chatting to people who are way above me. I'd say I'm mid really. But if in the future, like years from now, you end up becoming a lead and you feel like you're not good at it, it doesn't really reflect on your skills as an artist in the slightest. Leadership skills are a completely different thing. Like they're incredibly important to develop, and having leadership skills at any level, whether you're junior or not, is still important because you can always transfer them. You can always use, most leadership skills are more about managing expectations and obviously there's the deadline side of things, but apparently they can hear you pretty well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, so that's where it all comes down. I don't know, like, if anyone in the chat has opinions on this, like, feel free to put them up there. I'd be more than happy to kind of, see what people are saying. But yeah, like, it's all comes down to that, really. You go. And if anyone in the chat has any questions as well, feel free to ask.
Maybe say I'm a junior as well, if they have any very junior questions, so I'm not looked at at all.
Oh, wait, so if anyone doesn't know Becca, if you have me on Facebook, you probably know who Becca is. But
I posted all the photos of you.
yeah, all the pictures of me on my Facebook are because she's like actually good at taking pictures. Somehow makes me look good occasionally, which is an incredible skill. But yeah, it's like she's a junior look dev artist. Started a couple of months ago at Blue Zoo. Before that, she worked at. Well, I guess you can introduce yourself if you want.
Hello. I'm from Belfast. I think Matthew's watching this.
Matthew is watching.
Yeah. Matthew goes to the same uni I go to, or went to. Sorry, Jesus, it's been over a year. I used to work as a generalist at a studio in Belfast, and then I moved over to London because Mike was over here. I've always wanted to go into look dev and texturing, but I have like the lowest self-confidence known to man. So I was like, I can't get a job. I'm not going to be good enough. What I do, how do I get this? But I also had like a wide variety of like production skills. I've been a coordinator in my placement year. I done all bits and pieces. So whenever I came over, I did a freelance gig. I flew home, worked for 4 days, and then flew back again. And I ended up getting a job as a production assistant for assets in MPC. And it was only a short-term contract. It was like a 12-week contract just before December. But I loved it. It was I've never met. It was the same department as Mike, so it was really nice because everyone felt really like the people were such good. Just everyone worked really well. Everyone gelled really well together. It was just a really nice. I just loved it to be honest. And then I actually got offered a job as the look dev junior at Blue Zoo, which they do a lot of children's TV and they do commercial stuff as well. So yeah, we're a small department of 6, and it's nice and I love it. And yeah, I guess Michael rightly say, you learn a lot more whenever you leave. You leave to go to industry.
That's the thing. Like uni, at least like my experience of uni is, you tend to end up teaching yourself a lot of stuff. Like the university is like a framework. But ultimately, you're Googling things, you're reaching out to professionals online, or you're just finding tutorials on YouTube, or MikeCauchiArt.com.
Nice plug.
Nice. But yeah, so you'll find that when you leave university and you go into a studio, you so quickly. I was a student for 5 years before I got my first job. And so my first job was at MPC, but before that I went 3 years at Bournemouth University and 2 years at Tameside College in Manchester. Both of which were great experiences, but most of the time I spent was like Googling and just kind of learning for myself. So then when you get into industry and suddenly you've got a guy sitting next to you, Fanav loves the plug, but yeah, it's like when you go into industry, like my first when I first started at NPC, I was sat next to someone who interned and started the same day as me. But one desk over from me was someone who's been. I'm not gonna name names because I'm generally not sure as to who would be happy to be named. Um, but I was sat next to people who were 15 years in industry, 16 years in industry, um, insane amounts of time, and the amount of stuff they know. Like obviously, not all of it is up to date, but they have so much legacy knowledge that any problem you have, they've had it a million times. So when you start an industry, you sat next to them and shit breaks and they're just like, oh, it's just this button. So you learn things incredibly quickly because you don't have to spend ages googling stuff and then finding some random persons who might not know what they're doing, finding a random tutorial or blog post, um, and then you have to interpret it and figure all that out. But when you're in the industry, it's just so much quicker. And plus, you're in the perfect work environment. You're working 8 hours a day with a 1 hour break. So like my hours were 9:30 till 6:30, and that entire time you're grooming like hardcore. Like you'll do nothing else. You have basically perfect models coming your way. You have someone else handling textures. You have a supervisor who is your set of eyes. They will show you everything that you're missing. Which when you start your first job, you will miss a lot because you're used to such lower standards. Doesn't matter how good you are as a student. Like chances are you've not spent 8 months on a groom before. Um, so, supervisors are absolutely invaluable for that. But yeah, the learning in industry is just insane. And that's one of the things that makes juniors sometimes quite terrifying. Is like, so I've been at NPC now for almost 3 years, and in that time, I've done a few like training things. Like I've taught people who've come into London. I've travelled to other studios, and it's shocking how quick they catch up. Because again, like I'm not like anything special. I'm mid, and like I'm decent at my job, but I wouldn't say I'm by any means like you know hugely skilled for industry standards.
Yeah.
I can do decent assets, but everyone on chat probably knows what I mean at this point. Um, and a junior will come in, and after about 3 months, they've already caught up, and the difference is really small. There'll still be stuff that I know that they don't, but that stuff becomes rarer and rarer until it's literally purely debugging stuff. At which point, your day to day, they are doing just as well as you are, and that can be a little bit demoralizing. But at the same time, like it's part of it. Each generation that joins the industry is going to be better than the last one as well, assuming that they have independence in how they learn, which is insanely important. Um, if you rely on tutorials to do everything rather than sometimes just fucking about with stuff, breaking it, and then learning how to fix it. Which actually, coming back to the previous, or one of the previous questions, is one of the things you can learn is how to debug stuff yourself. Don't be afraid of breaking shit. Reopen Maya.
Literally what I dealt with there.
Yeah, but it's just like, learn how to not rely on others for stuff, because, you'll always have people there to help, but you're so much quicker if you can just quickly do it yourself. And the more times you break stuff, the quicker you'll learn how to fix breaks. And that will only help.
I think a big thing for me as well, and I think it's the reason I have so many random friends all over the world. Asking for help's a big thing, I think, as well. Like, or admitting that, you can't do something. You know what I mean? Like, don't be afraid to be like, hey, how do I do this? Or like, why did you know what I mean? Like, I get this quite a lot, and I see it with students and stuff, especially whenever I'm like talking to people from previous or even in uni that ask me like, oh, why did you do it? And I'm like, well, why didn't you contact the person?
Yeah.
Or they're afraid, I think you're afraid of being looking stupid.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, everyone knows you're going to be stupid, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, hell, like it all it all links to ego today. Like, just embrace the fact that you know nothing. Like, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry. Embrace the fact that you don't know everything you need to know all the time. Don't be afraid of asking others for help. Obviously, again, like it's good to be able to do stuff for yourself, but especially if you're a student, it's going to take you ages to figure stuff out. So just reach out to people. I mean, Becca's probably one of the best I've ever seen at this. Is like she's got insane numbers of connections at insanely high levels in some cases. In hell, one of the reasons I got my job at NPC was because I happened to know a guy called Frankino, Like he showed me the ropes of quite a bit of grooming stuff. He was incredibly helpful, and he was ultimately one of the people that helped get me in. Then Jesus as well. I knew him a couple of years before, well, about a year actually, before going into NPC. But he taught me a lot, and the only reason he taught me is because I messaged him and asked, "Oh, hey, how do you do this? Like, it makes no sense." And what's Vic saying?
Oh, Vic says that she can't comment. She's your special to her.
Aw, thanks, Vic. But yeah, it's just like, don't. What was I saying again?
I can't even remember now.
Tangents.
Tangent curves. Flatten the curve.
No. But yeah, it's just like, don't be afraid of reaching out to people. You're not struggling on your own is admirable, but it's stupid. Just reach out to people. I mean, hell, is one of the reasons I make free stuff is. Oh my god! I've just realised why my webcam wasn't working.
Is it unplugged in?
No, it's upside down. As I was saying, but yeah, it's just like, just reach out to people. One of the reasons I post stuff for free is because I want to help people, and most professionals do want to help. Don't spam them. There's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that most professionals out there have experienced someone spamming them, and it is quite annoying. But at the same time, like, as long as you're not messaging them 4 or 5 times a day with the same question, or as long as we can see that you're trying to do it yourself, or at least attempting to learn it, then most of the time we're perfectly happy to help. The only bad experience I've ever had is when people have literally not even tried. They just message me, "How do you do this?" I'm like, "Well, have you Googled it?" "Oh no, I was just hoping you can tell me." He's like, "Well, what are you asking me to tell you? It'll take me about an hour to type up, or you could Google it and watch a 15-minute video." Those are the sorts of things you want to avoid doing. But asking for help, I'm gonna keep repeating the same thing. Asking for help is no problem. Like, just do it.
Am I the one driving this conversation? Were you here last time?
Yeah. I like to ramble. It's one of the things I do.
Trying to think of what questions to ask.
If anyone in the chat has any questions they want to ask.
There's 7 of us, including me.
7. So there's 6 people, including Pranav, and Pranav won't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
Pranav won't have questions. He's been doing this longer than I have.
It's true. Do personal projects.
Do personal projects.
Well, I find that it was a big thing that I found at uni, especially coming from quite a young university, where they're still trying to get like the grips of what to do. The industry where I'm from is not really 3D driven; it's a lot more 2D. So it's not like that's the reason I kind of decided to move away. And it was the whole teaching thing was there wasn't. I just didn't. I wanted the stuff I wanted to go into. I was like, I'm not going to get the experience at home anymore, so I left. But I can't remember what I was saying. Sorry, I was giving feedback on my Access VFX. I forgot what I was talking about.
Pranav says he knows nothing about Groom.
Oh, that's good.
Well, you know how to fix pipeline for Groom.
Yeah, you do.
That's something, man.
Oh yeah, personal projects. But like a lot of unis I find give projects, and of having a student is to go really extreme. Like my uni was really odd. They made like you have to do like a 30-second short every year, but of course that can turn into a disaster like very quickly. You only get maybe I think it's like 12 weeks most of the time to complete them through completion, and the first couple of years just disaster. They you want to like have like a crazy man running and doing a backflip and fighting a dragon, and by the end of it you hate everyone and everyone's fighting with you and everything's on fire. Your rig is on fire because it's rigging.
Fuck rigging. I have a lot of respect for riggers, but you guys have mental issues to enjoy that.
Worked with some, yes. I can concur.
I've been forced into doing rigs and fixing rigs many times. Not professionally, luckily, because professional riggers are amazingly good artists. But back in uni, I had to fix quite a few rigs, and including many rigs of my own. That shit's hard.
Dabbling.
But yeah, it's just like, what Becca says about projects is like, do personal projects, like especially when you're learning like the ropes. Um, but for the love of God, like remember that you're a student. Like I mean, even as a professional, I don't want to do huge projects. There are people out there who can. Like I remember Zeno Pelgrim's. His personal projects in university were just ridiculous. But then he's a special breed. Um, like he's very very good and very driven. Hence why he's in the position he's in already. If you don't know who he is, for the love of God, search Zeno Pelgrims, Zeno, and then Pelgrims. You'll find his work, and you've probably seen it before. But most people aren't him, professional or otherwise. So just keep your projects simple. It's better to execute a project. It comes back to the showreel stuff I said earlier. It's better to do a very good, simple project rather than an okay advanced project. If you can do an amazing advanced project, then go ahead. That will definitely get you some serious attention. But yeah, Matthew asks a question. Slightly off topic. When I import a collection into a new scene, the material does not follow. I've added material to the character rig. When you say material, do you mean like hair material? Because that wouldn't come with a collection. Hair material is done in the Maya scene. Like you'd need to every time you bring in your collection, you're gonna need to reassign any materials or just import the scene that it's from, copy the materials out, and delete everything else. Although I don't recommend importing scenes with grooms, because that will always give you some kind of issue. Well, not always, but namespaces play havoc with grooms. This is slowly getting to like an okay spot. I need to increase the length of the top of the hair.
Have you seen Charlie's Angels?
Charlie's Angels?
Yeah.
I've seen it, but
you know the guy that licks the girl's face?
The guy that licks the girl's face?
Yeah, Google Charlie's.
I'm not going to Google the guy that licks the girl's face.
I can't remember his name. He also plays Willy Wonka in the Epic movie. Hang on.
It's the back of the head that I really need to change. I feel like...
Charlie's Angels.
Also, quick tip.
Hair sniffer.
Hair sniffer. So now that I have a working Wacom now because I had it upside down. But yeah, so quick tip: grease pencil is amazingly helpful at figuring out kind of where you want things to go. If it draws, there we go. So this can be very very helpful to draw on. Although weirdly, it looks like it doesn't want to draw over. Doesn't look like it wants to draw over a dome light for RenderMan, so maybe it's a display issue, but this stuff I can draw over fine. But this is a really good tool for kind of like, if you want to sort of quickly sketch over something, draw out some flows, figure out what you want to do. It's quite a helpful tool. That can be used, like you do this and then you move your guides to match it. It's something that, it's again one of those small things that you go into industry and you find these people who didn't have the tools we have now, and so they rely on old techniques like using the paint tool, and all of a sudden you realize actually this is incredibly helpful. Like maybe these people with years of experience know what they're doing, and trust me, they do. Although obviously no one needed me to tell them that. If they did, that's worrying. Yeah, that's what I was asking. Alright, cool. Yeah, so just when you are importing a groom collection, just make sure you're reassigning materials. Generally speaking, I don't like to, because you mentioned something with a rig there, I don't like importing collections onto a rig. Generally speaking, I find it's a bit more stable if you need to animate the hair, then you kind of have to. But generally speaking, I prefer to animate with like a proxy of the hair. So obviously I've got this sculpt here, which I'm not even close to following right now. But yeah, like I tend to have a sculpt that matches the groom, and I'll put that in the rig, or I'll get the rigger to put that in, and we can do the same professionally as well. But yeah, you get like a mesh for the rig, and then you cache out the animation when it's done to an Alembic file. Load that Alembic into your lighting scene. Keep all your scenes separate, obviously, and then load your groom onto the Alembic. You'll tend to find it's a lot more stable because Alembics, you can strip the namespace and there's no history in there. It's just an Alembic file. That will pretty much always be more stable. It's what I used in the pipeline for my final student film, which is a couple of years old. Oh my god, it's broken again.
Save.
Yeah. Wait, let's go to John Box. Yeah, my UI is broken again.
Yeah.
I absolutely love everything that XGen does. It has no problems. Nothing ever goes wrong. Tool settings. Please tell me this works. Paint black. Oh shit. I'll do save texture. And save texture here as well. Did I save my region map earlier? I've got a feeling I'm going to lose my region map. So I don't think I saved it correctly. So you do the grooming in a separate file, not connected to the pipeline. Yeah, so generally I like to do my grooming in like a modeling file. I don't tend to groom with LookDev, just because, as I said at the start of the stream, I don't know if you were here, the paint tool that you rely on so heavily for grooming in XGen, it kind of relies on the fact that you've got Maya materials assigned to your objects, like Lamberts, Blins, and Fongs. Obviously, very few people render with mental ray, which would have Maya materials. There are people, but they're pretty rare. But generally speaking, every renderer out there now is going to have completely its own materials. I think mental ray has its own materials as well, actually. But yeah, like you need to have a Maya material assigned for the paint tool to work. Speaking of paint tool working, my scene is doing that soft lock thing, so I'm going to have to restart it for the 4th time in this 2-hour
This
stream.
is going worse than any of your other tutorials.
It's not a tutorial though, is it? It's just...
Yeah, but even still.
Yeah, I mean...
Dude, Maya has corona.
Maya has corona. Maya is the virus, I think. But yeah, to answer your question, I groom in a separate file. I don't carry it through pipeline at all, just because you want to keep your pipeline as simple as possible. You want as few things as possible to break. Pranav will tell you this. His job is literally fixing pipelines. You really want to avoid complexity where you can avoid it, and generally speaking, groom is pretty much always horrifically complex pipeline-wise. It always causes issues. It always relies on more stuff than it should. In terms of like general setup, like more things have to be correct. Like with XGen, you can't have namespaces because that messes up with the assignments. You can't have any history. Really, it's going to be a bit unstable. That's my sad render. Actually, I can re-render it now. But yeah, you want to. I'm babbling again. Do everything separate basically, and then import at the end when there's nothing else to be done. When you've got a cache, that's the best time, because the cache isn't going to cause any issues. Alembic caches especially are just insanely stable. I've had several projects saved by Alembic caches, and I need to set my project again.
Perfect.
Yeah, every single time it crashes I need to reset the project because it sets itself back to the Klaus character that I worked on.
You've basically done the groom for the Klaus character.
I have, yeah.
This keeps happening.
I keep doing the same groom is what happens. Like, I'm glad I've got like professional variety because I don't have any personal work variety. I keep making the same grooms. Granted, he's not identical, but the hair length I think is actually the same as Edward. Like it's the same. Please tell me it saved successfully. I hope it did. Yeah, it looks like it did. Cool. But yeah, anyone have any questions at all? These need to be raised a bit more.
Dottie, he's so cool! Sorry, Dottie just sent me his character.
Oh yeah? It sounds like you did nice work, so I'm going to say nice work, man.
Actually, really fucking nice. Hang on, I will send you.
You send it to me.
Don't worry, it won't come up on the screen.
Yeah, I've got 2 monitors set up. It will come up on the right monitor.
Groom is pretty bootleg. It's not. It's actually really fucking nice, Daddy. Holy shit, I really like this guy.
Yeah, he's cool, man.
I really like the shapes and like the kind of like tactile feel to his body.
The hair feels nice and clad-like. Quite like him.
I like his nose. It looks like it has like a sack-like move. You know, if it moves like in a magic one, like bloop, 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 bloop. This is really fucking cool.
Okay, so now I'm going to start painting some maps. So yeah, like this at this point, it does need noise quite a lot, but I'm going to go in and kind of, most grooming solutions are procedural and don't actually generate physical volumes until just before render. It's essentially a delicate house of cards until that point. So yeah, every extra step hurts. Yeah, pretty much exactly that. Ultimately, as long as so there's a few things that you need to maintain. As long as you maintain the naming, at least speaking for XGen here, maintain the naming, maintain the vertex order. So don't make any topology changes. Even like I think everything other than a mesh cut will change. In fact, not even a mesh cut unless you're going from vertex to vertex will change the point order. So you can't change that because that will mess up your P-text maps. Can't change the UVs because that will mess up the paint tool if you need to do that. Can't change the name because that will completely brick the assignments. So the assignments are kind of done behind the scenes in XGen files from what I remember. It's been a while since I got really into the technical side of XGen. In hell, I haven't been like full time in XGen since university, which is almost 3 years ago now. What am I regenerating the groom for? But yeah, so it's just, as Pranav says, it's incredibly delicate. There's way too much stuff that you have to worry about. Let's create a mask. The hair, number 1. Clump, number 1. Mask. I'm going to start that on white, why not? This one crashes, right? Oh, this one works, cool. Now, one of the brushes that used to crash like, whenever I used it. Oh, hello, what are you?
A pimple.
Oh, I've got some UV issues. Apparently the Maya UV tool didn't do a good job, what a shock.
You leave her alone.
Well, the Maya UV tools. She's trying, okay?
I'm actually in awe of this character. It's actually really nice.
Oh, Matthews.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Duddy.
Or does he go by the name Duddy?
Yes. That sounds like you say Duddy though, if you say Duddy.
Dodie.
Duddy.
My favourite YouTube singer.
He's actually, I really like him. I just want to squeeze him. He feels like you need to squeeze him like a bag of potato.
I'm back at just listen to him crack and pop.
And then like loads of crisps come out. I hope that's not their plot and I've just stolen the plot. Oh boy. I'm just creeping on. Oh, so nice, guys. Yo shit. Oh,
Are you quite okay?
I'm fine. I just really like their environment. Are you going for it? Getting what's the zombie movie we watched? Train to Busan.
Busan. You never say it right.
I also say
You said Wuhan once.
COVID instead of COVID. So this is cool. I like that he's topless and one of the renders and don't understand what he's doing. He's just kind of chilling, killing, having a good time. I accidentally drew over the sink sketch. Oops. Sorry. I feel like he.
See you, Pranav. Have fun with your Houdini tutorials.
Something. Is he watching YouTube tutorials?
Yeah, he said he's gonna actually go now. He's gonna watch some Houdini tutorials.
That was a lie.
There we go. He's got like a proper bowl cut at the back.
He looks like. So, did you click on the link I sent you?
No.
It is him.
And kinda. It's just a centre parting. Right. I'm gonna add some noise.
Question.
I got another question. Sick. Another question. When making funny creatures, do you make fur with groomable splines? I do not use groomable splines. So I'm guessing with groomable splines you mean like the old X-Gen core system, like the actual groomable splines, where it's like short, very short kind of vectors on the mesh. I don't really use it, mainly because I've never spent the time really getting fully to grips with it, but I've always loved guides. Guides are kind of what I prefer to use. I find them a lot more controllable. Although having direction maps with like groomable splines is great. For making furry characters, not funny characters. Yeah. But yeah, when making furry characters, I tend to stay in X-Gen core. With X-Gen Interactive as well, I really don't like that. Just because things just don't work the way I expect them to. And when grooming, I like to be comfortable when grooming. I like to have things just make sense. And things like the noise and the way clumping is in Interactive just doesn't seem that friendly. It is powerful and it can do a lot of stuff, and I'm sure there's people out there that would rage at me saying that it's not that great. But at least for me, I just don't like it. I've always been X-Gen core. I used to use Yeti a while ago. It's been a while since I did that. I do need to kind of get in touch with the guys at Peregrine Labs and see if I can get a license at some point. Because that's a really nice tool. But yeah, X-Gen core for me. Pretty much on anything, to be honest. Doesn't really matter what it is. Hell, even I did a pom-pom groom, and even for a pom-pom I still use guides, even though really guides wouldn't be that helpful for that. I wanted to be able to do anything to the silhouette, which I just find easier with physical guides. I say physical guides as if they're actually real.
That's it.
Physical. Right, I need to shorten these guys back here. Oh.
I need to actually put it down there.
Yeah, this guy too. That's better. Yeah, let's get some noise in there. I'm gonna call it done for tonight once I've got some noise in there, because it's something. It's not perfect, but it works. So let's get some clump noise. Noise effect. Set that to 1. See what happens. That is very strong. Okay, so rand 0.2, 0.4. Let's see if that works. Still too chaotic. When adding noises, try to make sure that you're not breaking the guides, as in like your guide work should still be representative of what you see. So here, for example, like, you know, the noise is doing something. So if I go in and set this to 0, then it is doing something, but generally speaking, it's still following the curves that I made. If I can grab this, there we go. But it's just adding like a little kink here or there, which really makes it a lot nicer. The animation Muppet commented. That's great to hear, man. I'm glad you're finding it helpful. Do be aware that like I'm very rusty right now. I probably will. I've got another character that I'm kind of working on the background with a very similar haircut. So I'll probably stream that one and I won't be as rusty. My process is pretty much the same as what I did when I was grooming full time. But it's just it's been 3 months. I've gone from grooming 8 hours a day to not grooming. So I've been kind of trying to remember things as I go as well. But I'm glad you found it helpful. But yeah, so I've added this noise and that kind of adds a bit of color. We're going to ignore this front section because that needs a lot more work. But like back here, adding noise is going to create a lot of issues like this. Any kind of intersection, this stuff shows up really badly when you're rendering. So you want to avoid this where possible. So really I need to go in and change the noise even more. Maybe even adding something like that. That does quite a lot. And all I'm doing there is I'm making sure that it doesn't, the noise doesn't affect it earlier, but it's still affecting it at the tips. If I just affect it at the tips, it's still going to break up the shapes. It's still going to feel messy, but it's not going to change the guides as much if I do this. So that's one way of kind of fighting that. Although this is a very hacky way, strictly speaking, I should do just a bit more work to get the right settings. But yeah, so adding that, super subtle, but it's enough. Noise frequency really shouldn't be 0. I'm going to set that to 1, see what it does. I'm going to set it even higher. Let's say 5. Right, let's turn off this and see what it's doing.
Mike, how do I download something to Steam?
How do you download something from Steam?
Yeah, like one of our, you know what I mean?
Oh, like something we've already got?
Yeah.
You'll need to... you should just be able to click on the product and there should be an install button at the top of the screen. Let's change this to 8. See if that works. That's getting more interesting. Alright, let's keep it around 6 or 7. Cool. That actually gets the kind of effect I was hoping for. So then add some variation in there. No, add variation, add some flattening at the top. Thanks, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
But yeah, so noise correlation. This is in percentage, so it goes 0 to 100. This is just kind of saying how similar each hair is to one next to it. So with this set at 100, there will still be variation. But generally speaking, you're going to find the noise. I mean, this isn't the ideal groom to show it, but the noise tends to like follow. It's more like a flow change than an actual noise change. I tend to have this quite low, like 20. It's always good to have some, so it feels like there's some influence between the hairs. Having absolutely no influence doesn't make sense. Like if you've got some hairs, other than strays, if you've got like a clump of hair flowing one direction, it's going to pull other stuff with it. So yeah, it's I have a little bit of this, but not too much. But yeah, so let's go to clump 2. Oh, suddenly I did. Cool. But yeah, why am I showing the turn off the sculpt here? That's not what I want to show. There it is. Oh. Get that eventually. There we go. So again, we'll probably cover the front at a different point. Yo, how's it going? Not too bad. I'm surviving, Josh. This is pretty much as good as we can get in London right now. How are you doing, man? But yeah, so as I was saying, we'll ignore this kind of front section just because it's obviously nowhere near. We're going to need a lot of work to get it close to this, a lot of guide work, probably separate it. So yeah, we'll need to do a lot of work here, and obviously these strays are going to be a completely separate groom. We could do that with modifiers, but I think to get these nice flowy shapes, what I'd rather do, and we'll go over this in more detail when I'm actually doing it, but what I'd rather do is have a guide per clump, and the mask, like the density of it, will just be like little circles around each guide, so that we just have hair generated around the guides, and that will allow us to control exactly where stuff goes. That might be the best way to get this front clump as well. So for now, it's best we just ignore this stuff here. I will be getting rid of that. But yeah, so going to clump 2, add some noise. I'm just gonna set this to 2, frequency of like 6 again, just to get something there. That is too strong. Let's go to 0.2. It's too strong in some areas, but kind of works. So rand 0.05 to 0.2. See if that looks good. Because these are smaller clumps, we can now afford to have the noise start early, because you're not going to notice intersections on smaller clumps as much as you would notice them on big flat clumps. So yeah, I tend to go a bit braver with this, and generally speaking with Scraggle, something that noise in this program, be brave. I find that when I get sent work from students or just people who are new to grooming, they always either like massively underdo the noise or don't really add anything that's structural. So what I mean by that is people don't really add, or people who are new to grooming don't tend to add noise to their clumps. They tend to add it straight to the hair, and that makes the hair really frizzy. Now, having frizzy hair, obviously for some reference, is great, but for most hair, like, it's greasy, it's damaged, there's things that have happened to it, there's water in it, there's, you know, a bunch of things. So you always want your noise to have some sense of structure to it, and having it in your clumps will help. I mean, this is obviously like super basic, and there's a lot wrong with this, an absolute ton wrong with this. We don't have any strays set up, for example. But yeah, just stick with noise, clumping noise, and that will get you a lot further. I'm going to do a quick test render to see if this works. It's going to be a Lambert on the hair, so it's going to look a bit shit, but that's fine. I tend to work with Lambert for quite a long time, to be honest. I also need to go in and do the eyebrows, but I'll probably do that maybe the next stream, maybe the one after. I frankly have no idea when the next one will be. Maybe it'll be tomorrow, maybe it won't. Maybe this will be the only stream I ever do.
No, it will be.
This will be the only stream I ever do.
I need to do stuff too.
Alright, cool. I guess these streams are a pretty good way of motivating work.
Shoulder.
You crack your shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, as you can see in the render, like, obviously shading's awful and there's gaps where there shouldn't be, but we don't have any noise in the hair yet other than the clumping. But from a distance, if I was to zoom out in this guy, that would start to work. Like, it has the general shapes and like breakup that we would want. He really feels like Carl Pilkington.
Do you want to
It's just dawned on me.
Tip that you just did and why you zoomed out really far?
Oh, yeah, so one thing, especially with grooming, it's really easy to kind of get wrapped up in, is when you're grooming, obviously you're looking at like all the individual hairs, but it's, as Becca has said, something that's really important to remember is like how it reads from here is far more important, like every single time, because most of the shots in your project aren't going to be super close-ups like this. They're going to be quite far away, and like a close-up would be considered, like, if I get a a close-up would be something like this. Like, that would be extremely close. So why, when you're grooming, are you looking at it like this? Like, obviously it's so we can get it right, and that is important, but remember that this isn't how you see your hair. So it's way more important to get this stuff first. And the nice benefit of this is if you're working from a distance, you get your guides right at a distance, you know that the overall shape is working well. Then you get closer, you add some large clumps, you tweak your guides to add some flow variation, you know it's working well. And as you get closer and closer, it means that you're allowed to be more subtle. So when you're adding the noise to your hair, you're not going to take it way too far because you've only been looking close up. You know, by the time you're grooming at this distance, you're going to find that your scraggles need to be subtle because you've already got shapes that you like. Like, if you like these clumps, you're going to get rid of that if you add loads of noise. So, you know, I know that moments ago I said be brave with noises, but at the same time, don't just turn your hair into a frizzy mess. Like, you want to make sure you can see shapes. If I just go in and do, hell, what my first couple grooms were myself, like, we all do it. Is if you're hearing this and thinking, oh my god, like, this is everything I do, like, yeah, everyone's the same. But actually, I kind of like this. But in most cases, adding loads of noise to the hair it has destroyed all the shapes, but I actually kind of like how it looks as a character design. Hey, Becca. I actually kind of like
me in the morning.
But yeah, generally speaking, most of your grooms won't look good with this. Like, you're gonna want to go in, like, let's say we did like these shapes, let's say these matched a reference for whatever reason, then you're gonna want to set the magnitude incredibly low, because otherwise, like, even with 0.1, we're still losing shapes. Like, you know, all those silhouette breakups are gone, and that's with 0.1. That's quite a low amount of noise. Let's go 0.02, 5 times lower. now we've got noise, we're breaking up the clumps, and we've still got our subclumping, which is, again, really important to see. I need to add a much higher frequency, something like 8. And that will make it feel actually broken up. And that will get us like kind of these frays at the ends of the clumps. But we can still see all that structure that we added in. And again, like this groom is nowhere near a point where I'm hoping to save stuff. It's really not. But let's just say we were happy with it. We don't want to destroy it. But turning that off now, it's pretty subtle. It's making the hair not feel greasy. That's generally speaking, when I'm adding noise, I'm not trying to make the hair messy. I'm just trying to make it feel dry. That changes reference to reference, sure. And ultimately everything I say is my approach, and I've not been grooming for 15 years. I've got loads of areas I can improve in and understand more. But speaking from my own experiences, like I like to use noise for making the hair feel dry. I like to use the clumps noise to get the structure and the breakup that I want, because ultimately this breakup looks much more appealing. I guess in the case of a stylized character it's less important, but for photorealism, having this kind of breakup is much more important than having individual hairs flying in every direction. But that's kind of like, if anyone has any questions, I can stay on for another 10 minutes or so, but I've already been streaming now for 2.5 hours. We've gone from having no groom to having something blocked out. We do still have 2 more grooms. I'm not going to add eyelashes to this guy, mainly because he doesn't have eyelids. He was modelled with absolutely no usable eyes. So if I hide, the eyes are in the render layer. So if I just grab these guys, so that's how it's modelled in this case. It's literally just Z remesh, because this project isn't going further than still renders. It's just a high res Z remesh, some displacement, auto UVs, everything you don't want to do for full projects. Although Z remesher is getting frighteningly good. Like this nose topology, it's not perfect, but it's actually decent. Like loops are going where you want them to go. The mouth obviously doesn't have loops, but it wouldn't know to do that. But yeah, like I won't be doing eyelashes because of that ultimately. But I'll be doing eyebrows. I'll be doing the short hair, which maybe we can look into groomable splines. But again, I personally prefer to use Core XGen with guides. And there's a ton more work to do on this guy. But yeah, is there any questions, or are we going to head off? I'm going to wait for 2 minutes, because it's like a 8-second delay, and I don't know how long it'll take people to ask questions.
8-second gap between questions, please.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's really confusing when someone comments and they're replying to something, because I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, no problem, Matt. It's or did he? It's actually been all right. The beginning of this stream, I was so quiet. I feel a bit more confident now, to be fair. So
because I'm here.
Because you're here. Yeah, I've also just got more comfortable with talking, but you are helping quite a lot. Thank you. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'll stay for another minute. If not, then yeah, it's been quite fun. I hope you guys learned something or just enjoyed. Well, I don't think anyone can enjoy listening to this voice, but I hope you learned something.
It's like a live David Mitchell.
It's like the real David Mitchell. He's in the room.
Fruit corners, Jeremy.
I'm having a fruit corner, Jeremy.
I forget.
Alright, cool. It looks like no one's going to ask any questions. If there's any questions after I've closed this, just drop me a message on Facebook. So I'll still be awake for a little bit. And then if not, I'll be probably streaming tomorrow or Friday. Maybe Friday because we've got the whole day off. But yeah, cool. It's been fun, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. See ya.
Bye.